grass was warm. Dreamed a dream by the old canal. Well, I kissed my girl by the factory wall. Dirty old town, dirty old town. Clouds are drifting across the moon. Cats are prowling on their beat. Springs ago by the streets at night. Dirty old town, dirty old town. I heard a siren from the docks. Saw a train set the night on fire. Well, I smelled the spring on the smoky wind. Dirty old town, dirty old town.
Good morning, Somerville. Welcome to Boynton Yards. And seems like Flagship brought the sun here today. In more ways than one, actually. My name is John Fenton. I'm a principal with DLJ Real Estate Capital Partners, and I'm here with my co-venture partner, Rob Dickey, from Like and Call Properties. We are 50-50 co-development partners. You know, we've been in Somerville for 7 years, trying to understand this community and how to work with it. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you. And we've been working together through COVID with tenants, with construction, no breaks, no stoppages. You know, this has been a mission-driven project, and just like Flagship, we're trying to provide solutions, broad ones, and we've arrived here together at this milestone, a ribbon cutting for 101 South. So we'll be brief. We've got some more important people to speak in front of you. First of all, I want to thank Flagship and the 4 tenants that are here, Celerity, Tessera, Generate, and Laurent, cutting-edge companies that are going to make a difference in this world. 7 years ago, we were drawn to Somerville due to a promise of revitalization based on Somerville's comprehensive redevelopment plan, Summer Vision. And similar to the journey of many immigrants who sought opportunity in America and have enriched this community, we embarked on a voyage of discovery as well, an opportunity that led us to the fertile ground for life science development that is here in Boynton Yards, and this has been an amazing thing. This was no accident, frankly. Somerville had long planned revitalization, and yet Boynton Yards sat here in plain sight, finding its location to the life science epicenter of the world being a real value. So now we stand here together, you know, creating our own history, cutting a ribbon for 101 South, and it's really been an enjoyable journey. There've been many firsts here. Boynton Yards is one of the first master plan developments under Somerville's new zoning and the Summer Vision, which you mentioned, Somerville's urban plan. It's the first of 4 lab buildings that were approved as part of this master plan, which was also a first. And frankly, in order for us to really achieve success here is another first that we have to achieve, and that is a comprehensive mobility plan that will reduce traffic, which means driving less cars, to get in and out of Somerville and connect to the rest of the greater Boston area. We've had the first step right now with the opening of the Green Line. That's already made a difference, but these differences are going to be incremental. They're going to be immediate as well, and it's going to take time. But as this property grows, we hope that the traffic won't increase. In fact, it'll reduce. And with that, we will create, I believe, a unique world-class community with housing, music, food, open space that merge the cultures and the industries of science with the artist culture, and it really becomes a Somerville asset, not simply a life science campus, but it's all important. So with that, I'd like to introduce my partner, Rob Dickey with a couple of comments of his own.
Thank you, John. Your early vision, persistence, and leadership are truly the reason we are here today. We all thank you for that. There are too many to name, but we want to give special recognition to the full team and partners later in this program. However, I do, at the start of this program, want to acknowledge Flagship. A special thanks to Jeff Moore and Al Vaz to their hard work to get leases done here and to facilitate design and build-outs for the rapidly evolving needs of the 4 companies here. We appreciate the great community who have made it possible for all the scientists, researchers, and leadership today from Flagship companies that took a chance on us, Boynton Yards, and Somerville. Bringing much-needed lab space here was a goal conceived prior to the pandemic. Now we can all stand here today knowing this. Anchored by Kendall Square, Greater Boston has over 200 biotech lab buildings, but Somerville has its first purpose-built lab building in 101 South. And we're very proud of that, and there are more to come. We're building a second building, 808 Windsor, that's fully under construction over here behind many of you. And we look forward to many more buildings and much more life and vitality coming to this area. What we face as a society and within the development community has brought more urgency to the importance of what we call purpose-built, meaning to build a workspace to suit the needs of a tenant company, in this case, research lab spaces on spec for life science companies. Remarkably, Newbar and Flagship, with Tessera, Laron, Celerity, and Generate Biomedicines, saw the same thing that we saw here, a vibrant community of thinkers and believers in creativity. As the mayor will attest, the positive local economic impact of 101 South and the others to follow will be felt for decades to come as it infuses our next generation with a strategic built environment that solves for better work-life balance and traditional community values of better housing and education and green goals to help us solve for generational society challenges to come. Collectively, we are making history here, and you are standing on real estate is now part of the top life science cluster in the world. I want to now send it back to John to introduce the mayor.
Thank you, Rob. This has truly been a partnership, and we appreciate Legum Call and everything that they do. We have varied skill sets, and with everybody here, as I said, it takes a team to make a dream come true, and this is happening. Now I'd like to introduce our new Somerville Mayor, Katiana Ballantyne. Our new mayor ran on the values and culture of Somerville, just as we've tried to integrate our own with Somerville. With a goal to have everyone's voice heard in City Hall, she brings us the skills of a CEO to manage Somerville as our new leader. Her values are proudly progressive, with emphasis on diversity, working for social, economic, environmental, and racial equity. And so I'd like you to welcome our new mayor, Mayor Ballantyne.
Good morning, everyone. Usually I start with thank yous and recognition, but let me just take a moment first to take this all in. Look at you. Look at this building. Look at what we built together. This is a momentous day. Today we're celebrating the official opening of the first purpose-built lab building in Somerville. And none other than Flagship Pioneering has already moved 4 companies in. Another dozen lab buildings are planned or approved in Somerville, including 2 more Class A office and lab buildings right here in Boynton Yards. For so long, the center of gravity for life sciences in our region sat squarely in Kendall Square and then grew into Boston. But if you listen carefully today, you can hear it expanding right here. And I'd like to say that the center is not just expanding from Cambridge and Boston to include Somerville. It is also becoming more Somerville. The opening of 101 South Street is a model for how our civic leadership and a community-driven development process and a private investment can work together to advance community and regional goals. That's just how we do it here in Somerville. So I want to thank John Fenton, Rob Dickey, and everyone at DLJ and Leggett McCall for not just erecting a building, but for working to help fulfill our community visions. Through their efforts and the Boynton Yards Master Plan will ultimately bring housing, affordable housing, more than $13 million in payments to our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. It will also deliver an estimated 800 construction jobs, 4,000 permanent jobs, open space, artist and maker space, green buildings, and sustainable mobility to Somerville, as well as an estimated $15 million annually in new property taxes to support our priorities. Thanks are due as well to our civic leaders who helped shape the values in this community vision and kept us moving towards it. They include passionate advocates and community members, our full city council, including Ward 2 Councilor J.T. Scott, who is here today, the state delegation, and of course, former Mayor Joe Curtatone. I'd also like to recognize, I see a few of our city councilors in the audience today, Councilor at Large Kristen Strezzo, Councilor at Large Jake Wilson, and if there are any other electeds, please raise your hand. Okay, but they're all here with you in spirit. I also want to thank Nubar Afian, the founder and CVO of Flagship, for believing in Somerville. I want to welcome you, Flagship, and to everyone from Tessera Therapeutics, Celarity, Laurent, and Generate Biomedicine. Though I know plenty of you working at 101 South don't need a welcome because you already live here. So I'll just congratulate you on your short but more sustainable commute. We've been planning for more Somervillians to be able to work local. And finally, I want to thank and recognize city staff who partnered with our community, DLJ and Leggett McCall, to make sure Boynton Yards project will deliver the progress our community seeks. Thank you to the staff, especially in planning, mobility, economic development, public space and urban forestry, inspectional services, and infrastructure and asset management. Community vision is what got us here. Ribbon cuttings are when we gather to celebrate what's new. But as we cut the ribbon later, I want to be sure we also remember the thread that leads back to the decades-long efforts that got us here today. When I look at the shiny new lab building and the new staff who work here, I also see the well-worn community rooms, the determined residents who gathered in them years ago to plan, protest, to demand that we get the green line, to fight to shape a better future for Assembly Square, or to spend hundreds of hours hammering out our Summer Vision's comprehensive plan. I see the countless council and public meetings where we spend 8 years crafting a new progressive zoning code that ensures local development bakes in support for workforce training, affordable housing, artists and makerspace set-asides, green building standards, and more. I see the debates on Union Square planning, green space needs, parking requirements, and so much more that sometimes grew heated, but always got us better and more equitable outcomes, because more people and more perspectives were at the table. All of the idealistic, messy, ambitious, tremendous community engagement and process is woven into the ribbon we'll cut today. But we would not be here without our partners like DLJ and Leggett McCall, who also embraced our priorities and values. You dove right in to design more than 3.5 acres of public open space to pursue platinum and gold LEED construction in line with our carbon reduction targets, to reduce car parking and add bike parking, to weave bike routes and walkways right towards the green line to support our mobility shifts. I look forward to continuing that community-minded collaboration with Flagship, Tessera, Celerity, Laron, Generate Biomedicine as well. Together, we can work to ensure Somerville residents have pathways to jobs and skills development, especially via mentorships, supports, and internships for our youth. The work continues. So again, we got here by design. Our zoning overhaul was the culmination of years of thoughtful planning for when the Green Line extension would open in Somerville. We planned for dense commercial residential development like Boynton Yards to go in near new T-stops. We strove to attract large and small businesses whose workers will help keep our local businesses and squares thriving. And we sought 101 South and other office and lab buildings to increase the revenues we need to invest in our community's broader goals, whether that's investing in schools, our seniors, public health, core services, infrastructure, or other community needs. This has been a purposeful effort, but we're not done. We must remain vigilant and creative to ensure that as development as such comes, that we continue to invest in affordable housing, education, and our people to ensure we are creating progress for all. We've seen other cities fail at this, but we are determined to chart a better, smarter, and more equitable path. It seems only fitting that innovators in the field of life sciences will become a part of this and a part of us. Somerville is continually seeking to create public good, just as you continually seek to improve human condition. It's a hopeful thing to think that Flagship is now supporting researchers and scientists who just may find the next big cure or small but critical sustainability solution right here in Somerville. We welcome you. We will be rooting for you, absolutely. And we hope your scientific creativity will thrive here and in our growing innovation hub. We also look forward to continuing the work of local social progress with you. I encourage you and invite you to join our discussions, volunteer in our schools, invite your workers in to expand their opportunities, and also to invite our workers in to expand their opportunities. 101 South is the first concrete example of new life science opportunities in Somerville, supporting our long-held shared goals. I'm looking forward to seeing all of Boynton Yards renewed and to all of you joining in and taking the work forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We couldn't agree more. I'd like to introduce JT Scott, who's been a relentless advocate of the community, but he also understands the transformative opportunity of taking underutilized commercial space and making it more of a community resource and a revenue source. So I'd like to welcome JT for a few words.
All right. Hey, thank you everybody for being here. I don't have any prepared remarks, and I'm gonna keep it short. I'm not that high on the food chain. Mostly I'm just a neighbor. I live right over there. I own a business right over there. And I want to talk for a second about neighbors and what it means to be a good neighbor. You know, especially in terms, I want to welcome Dr. Afea and his companies here. And one of the things I always tell folks as they come into Ward 2 is the first rule of being a good business is being a good neighbor. And this is a place, as we stand in front of this amazing new building, I want to recognize our neighbors, the folks that have been in this neighborhood being good neighbors for a while, like Alex over at the Taza building. Hey, yeah, there you go. Like our friends at Groundwork Somerville. You know, as we stand in front of this amazing spread, I just want to recognize that they're over there growing food. It's feeding families here in Somerville. Food insecurity is still a major issue in our city. So I'm glad to have these new neighbors, and I'm glad that John at DLJ and Leggett McCall, that this development team understood from very early in the conversation that being a good neighbor means getting to know the ones that are already here, making sure that we work together to get the community's needs included in all of this planning process. I've hosted, Lord, a little over 200 neighborhood meetings in the last 4 years, most of them around development. And it makes all the difference in the world when the people who are trying to build something understand the context and the surroundings in which it's getting built. And that's why you're standing in this gorgeous green space right here, the first of many more to come, around all the buildings that are going to be built. That's why I'm excited about the mobility planning, but more importantly, just bringing jobs to Somerville. This is a city where 85% of our residents have to go somewhere else to get to work. And that doesn't help cut down on how many cars are on the street either. This is a neighborhood that saw working class population that walked to their jobs 100 years ago and had plentiful public transit options. Saw both those jobs and that transit leave the neighborhood over the course of the last 100 years. Well, now it's coming back. And it's been a lot of hard work, but I'm so hopeful. I'm so hopeful for the future. And the work is that as we do it, that we bring everybody along, that we can lift up our neighbors who are already here, that we can develop without displacement and create a city that we're all proud to be a part of, that we're all thrilled to be here, and that we get to talk to our neighbors that for generations before us can tell us what it was like before we got here. So I could not thank this team enough for their willingness to listen, for their willingness to engage, for their willingness to follow that rule of, first rule of being a good business, which is being a good neighbor. So welcome to all of you neighbors. Very excited to see you, very excited to have you all here today, and couldn't be more excited about the future here.
Frankly, it's been great working with JT and most everyone in the community and the government here. A lot of great professionals and a lot of people to thank. Well, a lot of you have been thanked and a lot of you will continue to be thanked. But we're really grateful of this environment and the people we work with. And for a new person that we work with, I'd like to introduce founder and CEO of Flagship, pioneering Nubar Afian. He's a man who's dedicated his entire career to improving human condition by systematically creating science-based innovations that serve as the foundation for curing life-threatening diseases. Can't imagine there's anyone more important than that and with a goal like that. So I'd like to welcome Nubar to the podium.
All right, well, thank you, Rob. Thank you, John. Thank you, JT. And thank you, Mayor Ballantyne. It's great to be here. It's a little odd. You might think that we go around doing these things kind of many times, but in fact, in the 22 years Flagship has existed, we've never had an event like this because we've never had a single site. And just seeing everybody here and the potential ahead of us is really a very special moment. I heard earlier that there's lots of dignitaries here, councilors at large. kind of thought, well, I'm not a counselor, but I'm pretty large, so I feel like I'm an official here too. You know, I want to, as I listen to this, kind of this important moment for Somerville, I just was thinking back when I first moved to Massachusetts. I'm an immigrant to this country, and I came here to study at MIT, and in 1987 started my first company. That's 35 years ago. And Cambridge at the time was a lot less developed than this is. There were no facilities, and in the ensuing 5 years, the company that I started ended up occupying 11, that's right, 11 different sites. Altogether, they comprised about 100,000 square feet. There was no building like this at all. And 15, 20 years later, Cambridge began to be the Mecca that it's become, and it's all about the people, it's all about the conviction that such a thing can happen. And I think a lot of people, a lot of communities don't have the advantages that Massachusetts has, don't have the advantages that Somerville now has, and they also lack the conviction that this can be done. And most people give up along the way. And I'm very happy to see Somerville make a commitment, and it's going to pay off for Somerville, particularly if they stay consistent in their commitment long term with all the different buildings we heard about. I have no doubt that the accommodation will attract the talent will create the value will attract a lot more accommodation and more talent. In just a short while, an hour from now, I'm going to be addressing the MassBio conference, the annual meeting, and I'm going to be talking about the Massachusetts Miracle, something that some 50 years ago, 40 years ago, was a big deal around here. It just happened to be out in 128. We lost that first war in the computing area, and a lot of that talent moved out. But what I'm happy to say today, and what I'll be talking about, is the degree to which the biotech sector actually, which constitutes the second Massachusetts miracle, in my view, is here to stay. And it's here to stay because it has gained the concentration and the local support that it needs to feel native, as opposed to somehow a strange kind of alien spaceship that's landed here but doesn't belong. So I'm quite optimistic about the future of biotech in this community and in Massachusetts at large, because what all of the companies that you see here today work on is nothing short of providing hope for folks suffering with disease, even hope for people who don't even want to get the disease. And I think there will be tools in the future that can help us altogether prevent or delay disease. And all of that is going to come about from the folks that are going to be in this building and many like it, who don't know any better, who are willing to put in the hard work, accept frequent defeats on the way to one or two big successes. And of course, I think many of you know, hopefully all of you know, that among the biggest successes in the biotech community, from a point of view of impact, global impact, was in fact a sibling company to the four that are moving here, which is called Moderna. Moderna, which started its life as LS18, the 18th company we had started back 10, 12 years ago now, which is not too far down the street from here, started on the same type of road as Generate, Celerity, Tessera, and Laronde are starting on. You might be wondering, what do these companies do? Here we are celebrating a building, celebrating space, but actually it's all about the people and what they're about to do. And each one of them, I hope you'll go and study them online, because there's a lot of information out, is doing something that everybody else in this field considers utterly impossible. And their work is to actually support the faith that they have, the faith that we have, with the facts needed for the rest of the world to believe what they're doing. Whether it's creating brand new therapeutics using computers alone, and the kind of artificial intelligence that's allowing us to design new molecules, which is what Generate works on, whether it's inventing new ways to correct errors in our genetics that help avoid disease altogether, which is what Tessera is working on. It's part of an exciting new field of gene editing. They have developed the first gene writers. You'll be hearing more about that 5-10 years from now. Whether it's Celerity, that's also using computational tools to, for the first time, understand how our cells gradually deteriorate in order to then lead to complicated diseases and therefore identify brand new targets that we can make drugs against, or whether it be Laronde, that is working on nothing short of a completely new type of RNA molecule. We've all heard about mRNA. They're developing eRNA. It's called endless RNA. And these structures, once they enter cells, can, for a prolonged period, express proteins in very exciting new ways and expand the range of things that are going to be possible beyond what viruses have done, what gene therapy does, what mRNA does. So we're very excited about all four. And so they're going to be working hard here, trying to find just the right way in which they can deliver impact to patients, and the community at Somerville will support and benefit from the work they do. And that synergy is going to be beautiful to watch over many years. So today we're celebrating a different kind of pioneering. Our firm's called Flagship Pioneering. It's a pioneering leap from Cambridge to Somerville. And I think that the possibilities that are here are no different than the possibilities that drew us into Cambridge when we started Flagship some 22 years ago. And I welcome everybody to join us in this journey, encourage the scientists, many of whom are in this room, to continue to believe, to continue to work hard, and to continue to work on things that we'll be celebrating 10, 20 years from now when they impact the whole planet. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for coming.
So, thank you everyone for coming out on this beautiful day.